Hey nerds, welcome back to NerdHow. My name's Amani, and today I'm going to be reviewing Wonder Woman by Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to really quickly address my absence. I just finished my last semester of college, last semester of traditional classes, and it was a lot of work, and I could not justify filming YouTube videos when there was so much else to do. But I am back, and I am resolved to be back permanently, so hopefully you'll see a video every week or so from me for the whole summer. I'm really excited to be back on YouTube. I really missed you guys. Welcome to all the people who have subscribed since my, I guess, absence, you could say. I really appreciate you guys coming over and subscribing. Yeah, that's basically it. We're back on schedule, we're back on track. Let's talk about comics. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about Wonder Woman, Brian Azzarello, Cliff Chiang, New 52 run. This is the run that started at the beginning of the New 52 with issue number 1 and went all the way through issue, 35, with the same creative team. Chiang and Azzarello are really awesome. This run is really highly celebrated. Lots of people talk about it. Lots of people love it. That's why I picked it up, and I'm really glad I did. So as I said before, there are 35 issues. It is collected over 6 volumes currently. The first one is Blood, Guts, Iron, War, Flesh, and Bones. So those 6 volumes comprise all 35 issues. You can get them in trade paperbacks like I did, or I think the hardcovers are still available on InStock, which is where you'll probably find the best price for them. So if you sort of like those nicer oversized pages, I think those are still available. I haven't checked recently. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's start off with Brian Azzarello. He's the writer on this. He did an excellent job. The thing that I think strikes me most about this series is that it had an ending in mind at the beginning. And this is one of my big pet peeves in storytelling. I call it lost syndrome, where writers will keep coming up with new mysteries and new cool characters and new ideas like halfway through the story, and then by the time you get to the end, nothing feels cohesive and nothing feels planned and nothing feels purposeful. And I find myself responding to arcs the best when it is clear that the writer or artist or animator or whoever is making the content knows where they're going when they begin. This series did that beautifully. When you start reading this, it feels sort of like a action-adventure story, and in a lot of ways it is, and it continues to feel that way throughout. But by the time you get to volume 4, it's very clear that Azzarello had an idea of how this story was going to play out and was just sowing seed through the first 3 volumes. So volumes 4, 5, and 6 are really satisfying because you've done all the work to learn about Wonder Woman's new history, all of the new characters that he's introducing, and how they interact with each other. And then those relationships and plot points that he's set out for you at the beginning really pay off in a big way in the last 3 volumes. So the first 3 are really fun, and I had a really great time reading them. They're beautiful volumes, the characters were really well written, the action was really fun, but it was those last 3 where everything started falling into place and you realize how this narrative, where this was going, that it really started paying off, and it was like a really satisfying read. That last volume especially felt so good, and you had been with these characters for so much. Another thing that Azzarello did that has been kind of controversial is that he changes Wonder Woman's origins. I'm not going to spoil it. I think it's not worth spoiling. It's kind of fun to see where it goes on your own. I'm sure some of you already know what happens. But basically, Wonder Woman is no longer sculpted from a block of clay. She believes that at the beginning. She believes that's where she comes from, and then she realizes that her mom has been keeping secrets from her. I found it really great because I hadn't read Wonder Woman before, and I knew her backstory, but I wasn't emotionally attached to it. I know some people who love Wonder Woman had a problem with the fact that, you know, he completely kind of blew it out of the water where she had come from. I thought it was really great, and it ends up being really important for the structure of the story as you kind of go through these volumes. And I was just amazed. I thought it was awesome world building. And that sort of rolls into this idea of all of the Greek gods coming into play, and you meet a lot of them throughout this series, and they are all fascinating. They are all so well designed and so well characterized. Azzarello has a very clear vision of who the characters are, and then Chiang has a really clear vision of how the characters look. So it feels really good whenever you meet a new character, because you kind of get a sense of who they are from how they're drawn, and then their actions and the role that they play in the lives of our protagonists really, really pay off in a big way. And it's so fun, because you know that by the time you're, through volume 2, you know that he's just going to introduce a lot of people, and it's going to be really satisfying because of the way they're interacting with Diana and with her sort of motley crew that she's sort of built over the course of these books. So amazing cast of characters, really, really, really fun. So another thing that people often talk about with this series in particular is that it is kind of a feminist-driven series. It talks about a lot of the things that we are dealing with today, like what is the role of women? How is that different from the role of men? Is it different? And I think what's interesting about his take on these feminist ideas is that he has jam-packed us with a really great plot and a lot of characters, so the issues that come up in relationship to these feminist kind of social questions tend to be more complex and more, I think, insightful as a result of that. We see a lot of different point of views, and we see a lot of different people who feel differently about the way in which we treat women in society. And I think it's interesting because Diana ends up being this sort of maybe classic feminist icon, and in a lot of ways her ideas are kind of confronted and are kind of shown to be not positive or negative, but individual ideas, and you cannot decide how people feel about issues that are important to you, even if they are important to you. So answers are not always as simple as we would like them to be, because these issues are complex, and society as a whole doesn't change based on what you believe is correct and what you believe is right. I thought that was really interesting. It didn't bash you over the head with feminism. It was kind of this great, subtle, sort of back and forth, sort of like beneath the surface of a lot of conversations about like who Diana is and what she can accomplish. I think another thing that is really, really great, besides like the fact that the cast of characters is really diverse and really fun, the idea that the characters are as important, if not more important, to the narrative and the story as Diana. I'm a really big fan of books where it has a protagonist, but it also really celebrates the idea that you cannot live this life alone. And when you meet people, they influence you and they have a big place in your life. And people come into your life one way and then leave them another. So the idea that your feelings about people grow and change as you get to know them and as things happen. And that enemies in book 1 are not always going to be enemies in book 6, because that's not how life works. And I feel like that was one of the great strengths, is that because the relationships were complex and honest, it really made the plot pay off in an emotional way by the time you got to the end, because you had seen these characters fall in love with each other and build relationships with each other, and it made it really satisfying to see them go on this journey together, and it made you really root for them when they were succeeding and really feel bad for them when they were failing, and it just made this wonderful kind of like payoff. Like, yes, Diana is the main character, and yes, Wonder Woman is the title of the book for a good reason, but the people that she comes into contact with and the people that become her family throughout the series are almost more enjoyable to me, because they really rounded out the world and made it, I don't know, feel really honest and really good. Moving on to maybe my favorite thing about this series is the art. Cliff Chiang is an amazing artist. I'm going to try and insert some inserts of his art right now, so hopefully you'll see those coming up. But he has this very sort of blocky, I think you could call it, simplified style of the way he draws people, but he still manages to create this really diverse cast of characters that all look and feel different, but it's not like uber stylized in terms of muscle structure, and like he's not drawing these uber like realistic style of people. Another thing that I really, really love about this art is the coloring. It is amazing. It is very different from what I've seen traditionally, especially in sort of the newer generation of comics. It's flatter, I think, than a lot of things we see. There's a lot of teals, a lot of oranges, a lot of pinks, a lot of purples, and it feels like its own aesthetic. The oddness of the coloring with the uniqueness of Cliff Chiang's rendering style really, really works. I think what has to be my favorite thing about these is that Wonder Woman is drawn like a woman. She is huge. She is a big old lady. She's probably like 6'2" or 6'3", if that. She's wide. She's not like bulky or big, she's just got oomph to her. She's got muscle, she's got strength, she feels capable. When you see her on the page, you know that she's gonna take care of business, and I love that. I think that this is an opportunity that is missed in a lot of comic books and a lot of superhero movies right now. And I think you could argue that it goes for both genders, but there seems to be one kind of body type that's being celebrated. And I would love to see some women who aren't size 2 or 4, you know? Wonder Woman, in this series especially, really sort of glorifies a beauty type that is very healthy, but also different from what we see in maybe modern, I don't know, in society today, I guess you could say. And I really, really appreciated it and really, really loved it. I think the only thing about this that I could say that's a negative is that in the first couple of issues I felt like there were a couple of paneling problems where I wasn't quite sure how to read it. But that was only for maybe issue 1 or 2, and maybe that goes to show I needed to get used to Cliff Chiang's paneling style, and that was it. I'm not sure what it is, it's been a little bit since I read them, but I remember being a little bit confused at the beginning of how to read through, but that totally went away, and by volume 2 I was sailing through these like nobody's business. If you want to read this series, I highly recommend you get all 6 because you will fly through it. It is an amazing, amazing read. It is a really fun time. Alright guys, that is my review of Wonder Woman from the New 52, Brian Azzarello, Cliff Chiang. Definitely go check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have read this run on Wonder Woman, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. If you liked this video, I hope you will share it with your friends. I hope you will give it a thumbs up. I hope you will subscribe. Those likes and subscribes are always appreciated. As always, stay nerdy.